What's up, everyone? This is the Go Long Podcast. Tyler Dunn here with Jim Monis. Jim, I think our volume issue is hopefully fixed. You know, it was a solid podcast with Connor Orr last week at Hamburg Brewing Company, and then we realized after the fact that we were a couple static robots. The good news is Connor sounded great. He looked great. The man is humble as heck. I'll just say it. We were texting after the fact. He's lost like 70 pounds. He's a running machine. Yeah. I could see it on the Zoom, and then he had a picture on Instagram. I'm like, dude, you look great. What happened? And good for him, man. It's inspirational. So yeah, they got the stories that they needed to out of Connor on the podcast, which is most important. But you know, we're a couple of podcasting production.
We've been going at this
novices.
for a while now. I mean,
you're right. We aren't really rookies anymore.
We shouldn't be. It's like, don't you always say you get tired when people say they're young? Like that.
Right. Yeah. Like the Tremaine Edmonds. Oh, Tremaine Edmonds is so young. It's like his 5th year. At some point, you just can't reference that anymore. It's done.
I think he gets younger. Like it's his 5th year in the league, but he's 18 now.
Right. He just got his learner's permit. Actually, he just 18. Got it. Driving around Buffalo. Man.
It's funny. Did he have for his weight gain? I don't know him, but was he a heavy drinker, heavy eater, just everything, or
not necessarily? I don't know. I mean, he was never this massive human, but he just runs like a maniac, I guess. He says he does marathons and he was drinking water, as you may remember on the podcast. I think that's something he cut out of his life, which I don't know if we're going to be doing anytime soon. You know, Hamburg Brewing, by the way, they sponsor this podcast.
I can't even picture, I think about when we're there, it's like, you know, the juice boxes flow, you know, he's sitting there drinking water. We're in our element. It is a different,
we are.
It is. It's
always remote right now. We should say we're at our homes. But we want to get this podcast rolling at a more regular clip. So even though it's kind of a dead time in the NFL calendar, I guess mildly dead, OTAs and mini camps are opening up. So you have some storylines there. It's definitely quieter, but you know, there's always something to talk about. We just figured with the Super Bowl odds kind of grabbing headlines recently, we just touch on that because it's strange, I think, for everybody here in Western New York, Jim. It's got to be strange for you, even having run the team with Doug, to see the Buffalo Bills as the Super Bowl favorite. They're the favorite in every single game that they're in. You can't necessarily play that underdog card if you're Sean McDermott. You just can't. Nobody's going to buy it because you're the top dog according to Vegas.
Well, we talked about this before the odds came out. That's one thing we were on, that the pressure now is on the coach. Like once you get the quarterback and the team is in place, I always think about, I hate that we always talk about McCarthy and Aaron Rodgers, but let's face it. I mean, McCarthy was under, whether or not it was all McCarthy's fault, which we're finding out may or may not have been with the way he plays Aaron Rodgers plays in the playoffs, but it's always going to come to the coach once the quarterback is established. That's just how it is. So you accept that as a head coach. You want that problem.
Right. You'd rather be the Super Bowl favorite than praying and hoping that you can be in the hunt graphic in early December.
And that's what I think will be a fun exercise to do when we talk about these odds. And if you look at the teams with the biggest odds, you know, the long shots, just go down when we start going through them, we could just go through them quick whenever we're ready, but it's pretty much quarterback. No shocker that they're the worst. Then when we take the top teams, quarterback, yep. I mean, you see Denver Broncos are right in the mix now to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Just because, you know, just like that, like automatic, people assume you have a chance now. And I would beg that one I would hold off on, the Denver one. I have some thoughts.
I kind of like Denver this year. I like them.
I need to see it.
But that's why these teams go to such extreme lengths to hold on to their quarterbacks by any desperation measures imaginable, as we saw with Green Bay, you know, basically letting their quarterback do whatever he wants at this point, to on the opposite end of the spectrum, those teams that don't have one or think that they don't have one, going all in on Deshaun Watson, who, by the way, is going to be the subject of an HBO Real Sports special this week. If people haven't seen it already, I mean, they're swinging for the fences, whether it's morally, financially, with draft capital. I mean, that's why you do it, right? I mean, I know I don't sound simplistic, but you either have the quarterback and you can think Super Bowl, or you don't, and you're just hoping for 2023 that you'll have a shot at one.
Yeah.
Has it always been that way, you think? I don't know if it's been to this extreme, early to mid 2000s, even the 2010s. I feel like you could talk yourself into competing with a B quarterback. And now it's like, if you don't have start planning your vacations for January.
Yeah, that's a good way to say it. I was trying to go all the way back when I started in like 2001, and the focus was still on quarterback. I mean, I think that the focus, I like how you said that, is I think maybe it was, well, he might not be top 10 or however you want to say it, but we can win with him, if we put the other things in place. I think now that's gone. It's enough.
Right. You can't have that conversation.
No, stop that. You're right. I've been in those plenty. We can.
I know it sounds dumb, but it really is like you're a single dude and you go on a few dates and you just start rationalizing, right? Well, we don't agree on this thing or that thing, and we don't align here or there, but this aspect of the relationship is dynamite. But once you start playing that game and you start working around the fringes and, trying to negotiate in your own head, probably not the one. Probably not the one. And that's what teams do with quarterbacks every year. You guys kind of did it a few years.
It's if the amount of time we spent trying to figure out that position,
man,
it's why it's so nice. Like, it makes me feel good to see, like, it's proof. Like, when you get the quarterback, all of a sudden you're on national TV every game. You're the favorite to win the Super Bowl. Your quarterback's the favorite to win MVP. He's probably one of the top 2 or 3 to win the MVP. I didn't even look, but it goes to show you all the time that you do spend trying to find that guy. It is worth it. I mean, you're not making it up.
Completely. I mean, that's why the Bills went to such extreme lengths. In a lot of ways, they kind of picked up what you guys left off with that draft class. That's something that you guys had discussed studying that 2018 draft class when you were at Tempo with Terry and Kim and Doug. And like that's what we're targeting a year and a half in advance. That's why you do it.
I'm curious. I've been curious to know. I don't, since I've been out of it now, I don't know. But I've always thought, I've talked to Doug, I've talked to Whaley about this before, but why don't you just have almost a 2 to 3 man staff that is literally grading every starting college quarterback just from the time, I don't care if they're a true freshman, and you are following him hey, I've been watching him now for 3 years. He gets better every year. Hey, he plateaued. This is year 3. He is plateaued. I don't see him getting better. Just to have that type of in-depth, it's worth it to put that type of work into that position. There's no reason not to.
My God, I mean, some of these coaching staffs are laughably inflated. I mean, there's so many there's so many cooks in the kitchen on so many of these staffs. And I mean, I'm just thinking back to that 2016 Bills season with when he brought his brother on board. I feel like there were 5 defensive coordinators. Why not just, if you're running a team, that's such a great point, Jim. Have a couple people that all they do, like they're quarterback connoisseurs. That's all that's on their mind, 24/7, 365, nonstop. Even if you have the answer at quarterback, you should constantly be studying the quarterback.
You could do it. I've always thought, because I think you could do it analytically and make it really efficient and really study it from the time they had their first start to their last start and everything that you saw in his career. And because think about Josh Allen. I mean, if you really study, like we didn't study him. I didn't see him in college, but you see the highlights, and when you do see some of those throws at Wyoming, you're like, oh man, there aren't many people that can make those throws, regardless of anything else. You could just sit there and we talk about Mahomes like that too. Like, don't overthink it sometimes. You're watching a guy, there aren't many people that can make that throw. Right. That should be an indicator that you might want to pay attention to him a little bit harder.
And when you put the time in that Buffalo did, you're going to know, okay, his accuracy was piss poor, whatever it was, 52 something %, but he works his ass off and he will surround himself with the right people to fix this. And he did. Jordan Palmer, right there in Buffalo, Brian Daboll, you had the staff in place that was going to work with him, Ken Dorsey. So I think, like, if you really get to know somebody, I mean, we had Matt on, and he made that point, right? Like where teams saw a dorky disposition or inaccurate quarterback, and they saw that as a fatal flaw. Like the Bills knew him well enough to kind of sort through that all. And gosh, look at last year's draft class with all those guys taken so high: Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, Trey Lance, Justin Fields, Mac Jones. We don't really know what any of them are yet, but one or two of them will work out. Maybe 3 or 4 won't.
Yeah.
Don't you want to know every single thing you possibly can with so many jobs on the line? Like, you're onto something. Maybe that's an XFL innovation, eh?
I wonder if it's been talked about. You never know.
Ooh, all right. For those who don't know, Jim Monis, Director of Football Operations, XFL.
I just think that position is worth just sinking as much resource and time and money into that position. It really is. It's not as simple as just watching him for a season and, I watched these were his 3 best games this year and put that on. You really need to see his career. And
you're not like Dave Gettleman where you just watch the Senior Bowl and fall in love and that's it. That's not how it works, Jim.
I'll tell you what.
I thought that you judged everything based off of a college all-star game where scouts even leave before the game's actually played, but you use that game.
Did he say that? Was it one series? How many?
Full Bloom Love.
Was it one series? Did he? He didn't.
I think it was. I think it was his first series when he was out there. Yeah, he just looked like a quarterback. I'm paraphrasing, but it just looked like.
I know. It's hard to believe that you would even say that, but yeah, it's
a GM twice over, Jim. Twice over.
Cam Newton.
All right, well, let's get into it then. I mean, everything that we're kind of touching on, I guess, is why the Buffalo Bills are your Super Bowl favorites in Vegas as it stands now. I mean, I'm looking at, I think this is DraftKings, they're plus 600.
That's.
Were you surprised? Is this to be expected?
Yeah, I think it's to be expected. When you finish the way they finished last year, where basically that was all eyes were on that game. Everybody really realized the Bills should have won that game. Everybody believes that if they did win that game, they would have beat Cincy in Buffalo. I just think that people play it out like that and say, hey, this is the team to watch this year. Like, it should just be sky's the limit. And that's their expectations to win the Super Bowl this year, the Bills. I mean, that's where you want to be. So, yeah, I think that's a good favorite. I could see why they're the favorite.
What a slap in the face, though, to the Bengals. I mean,
let's talk. Okay, so let's go this route. So before we do that, because I want to see, because before I don't want to sit there and I like the Bills, like I did on the one pod. I think the Bills can win the AFC. No shit. Let's have some fun with this and pick some teams, maybe. So let's talk about the Bengals. All right,
so we'll both kind of give the team that we view as the Super Bowl favorite.
Tampa, Rams, everybody's picking those 4 are obvious. Let's find some value picks. We call them value picks in the world of
value Super Bowl favorites.
Yeah. Okay. You like the Bengals?
I like Cincinnati. I mean, I get it. That's what everybody here in Western New York thinks is, if they don't botch those 13 seconds. Of course, the Bills beat Cincinnati at home and get to the Super Bowl. I mean, their offense was obliterating everything in its path. I mean, Bill Belichick was taken to the woodshed. The Chiefs had zero resistance whatsoever. I mean, Josh Allen was that was a historic heater. I mean, really, if you look at his numbers, if he's extrapolating that over 2 more games, it's all-time stuff. But I think we're too quick to just dismiss the fact that Cincinnati was at Arrowhead and down big at halftime and came back.
We just forget about it.
We just forget about that. I mean, they made Patrick Mahomes look like that string of Chiefs quarterbacks from, the Tony Gonzalez era, Damon Heward and Brody Croyle, all those guys. I mean, he looked anemic. And I get it. A lot of that was himself. A lot of it was Andy Reid. But give the Bengals credit. Sam Hubbard, Trey Hendrickson, pressure, big moments. The secondary didn't back down from Tyreek Hill. They didn't let him get loose like he did against Buffalo. And Joe Burrow was just completely unflappable. I like Cincinnati. I think that, their offensive line was an atrocity last year. I mean, really, it was bad. And some of that might be on Burrow. Like, he tends to try to keep plays alive, but I mean, it was not a great line, and they addressed it. I think they changed 4 of the 5 starters outside of Jonah Williams. Everybody's new.
They've addressed it they've tried even last year. I mean, they've drafted that. They've really tried. So
your guy, Lyle Collins, is the right tackle now.
How great is that?
Could have been.
That's always a good one.
But look, I mean, Jamar Chase, what he did as a rookie, that rapport with Joe Burrow, to do that out of the gates. What are they going to do in year 2? Defensively, I think they're good. I mean, they drafted Dax Hill as a nickel. I mean, I liked Mike Hilton, but he's solid. And they've got enough pass rush up front. That BJ Hill trade, they just absolutely fleeced Dave Gettleman. Not a surprise there in that trade. But I just think that Cincinnati, like, why are we sleeping on the team that was in the Super Bowl? Maybe it's the odds. I'm not looking at it now, but teams that lose in the Super Bowl, like, historically, are cursed the next year.
And then it's still the AFC. Like, it's still, do we believe that they're better? I mean, that's the hard part in the AFC. I'm going to talk about another team in the AFC that with some decent odds I like, but I think that's the hard part and we touched on a little bit before the show, but look at the NFC. I mean, yeah, it's boring to talk about Tampa and it's boring to talk about the Rams and Packers, but who's challenging those teams? I mean, San Fran, their quarterback is a major question mark. Arizona, is he ever going to take the next step? Dallas, are they ever going to pull? What other team? What quarterback is going to?
Yeah,
Rodgers, Stafford, Brady.
Something about Burrow, though. I don't see him.
No, I'm with you. I love Burrow. I'm with you.
I only see his arrow pointing up in year 3. We talk a lot about these quarterbacks who can improvise and do the extra, but he's got some of that to his game, but it is just that it's extra. It's not the basis. I mean, he really is beating defenses with his brain. I mean, what he did to, who I'd consider one of the best defensive coordinators, Wink Martindale, Baltimore, who he basically got him fired. Joe Burrow did. I mean, really, Martindale leading up to that game, granted, the Ravens are down to their, JV squad, whatever it was out there. They're just absolutely annihilated by injuries and COVID, all that. But he talked a little smack. He said, we're not getting the gold jacket ready for Joe Burrow. And Burrow threw for like a zillion yards and several touchdowns and kind of stuck it in his face after the game. Like, you're talking about one of the best D coordinators, made him look silly. I feel like he's going to have answers for teams because he just wins with his brain. He does what Kurt Warner always tells us, taking his layups, taking the throw, taking the weakness. He always knows where you're vulnerable in your coverage. Not a lot of quarterbacks can do that because a lot of quarterbacks instantly want to use their legs because that's what they've done their whole life. Boom. All right, there's an opening, go. It's going to look great. It's going to be a highlight, but is that going to last? I think we're there with Josh Allen. Don't get me wrong. I think he's turned that corner, but let's see if Deshaun Watson can really do that with new teammates after taking a year off with what could be a half-year suspension. Let's see if anybody else in the AFC can do it. Lamar Jackson, love Lamar Jackson, but health has to be an issue there with the way he plays. There's just a lot of concern, I think, with that. I mean, we've seen it with Burrow. He's got there.
I mean, that's kind of the team. The two teams that, besides the obvious teams like Chiefs and Bills, I'm torn between the Chargers and Ravens.
Ooh.
And I like what the Chargers did in the offseason. Obviously, Herbert looks like sky's the limit still for him. I think the Ravens, if Lamar, you said it, big if, got to stay healthy, obviously. The health and his, can he do it in the big game? Can he make the throws in the big games? But I think their defense gets better. I think that team was destroyed last year on defense, injury-wise.
I know it.
Their secondary is coming back. And that's if you add a defense and Lamar stays healthy, they're right back in the mix. So I think the Ravens have some value at like plus 2,200 I saw on FanDuel.
Greg Roman, OC. We've brought him up a handful of times, but what is this offense really going to look like?
So here's a fun one to think about. The hot seat type topics. Like if Lamar stays healthy, they don't go. Does Baltimore blame Lamar? Do they move on from Roman, especially after some of the talk? The Bills, if they don't make the Super Bowl, I don't think anything would happen this year. I don't. But I'm just saying, does the pressure start to mount on coach? Like, does Harbaugh, the head coach can always get rid of the coordinator as your first. We've talked about that too. The first, hey, all right, this is my mulligan. I'll take another one.
Eric DaCosta. You wonder.
All right. They'll find a way to. Roman would be in trouble, I think, if they're, or Lamar. I mean, that contract looming.
I think that's an easy decision, though.
No.
If you're picking between those two, right?
Easy. Very easy.
Yeah.
You just never know.
Because, what's behind door number 2? It's starting over. That's a sad, dark place to be. Which is what I was advocating for Green Bay to do last offseason. Take your picks. Take your picks.
Having been there, that's why every time you're like, what would you do? I'm like, yeah, I'm boring. I'll keep Aaron Rodgers. I don't feel like going through the headache of trying to find it or developing or wondering. And
you'll put up with the nonsense.
Yeah. But it's really it's incredible how when we look at the good teams, the teams that have no chances, it pretty much just stops and starts a quarterback and then figure it out. You really did bring up a good point. It does seem just more than ever now.
Yeah.
I mean, I think maybe because the rules are the way they are now, and it's such a passing friendly league and scoring league that comes from the passing game, comes from the quarterback. Turnovers. If you turn the ball over, you're losing. All those rookies last year, all the rookies, quarterbacks struggled with turnovers, right? I mean, Fields had his share. He was, Wilson, Lawrence, they all had those three, especially. Trey Lance didn't play enough. Mac Jones was hidden, I thought hidden enough, but man.
Any thoughts on just real quick? We haven't really touched on Justin Fields. I mean, you studied him a lot last year.
I love him. I think he is the sky.
Chicago, they didn't do much at all for him personnel-wise this offseason. I mean, coaching staff they did. Luke Getsy should be a great teacher for Justin Fields, a lot better than what they had. It sounds like they're actually going to put in an offense that's best for Fields' skill set, where Matt Nagy was more so, you're this round hole. We're going to fit you into this square piece. Just didn't make any sense what they were doing. So that helps. But personnel-wise, I mean, they drafted a receiver who is like 27 years old. They didn't really sign anybody.
I think the key I'm going to pay attention to in Chicago, because this is a lot of unknown. I don't know much about this GM. Don't know much about the coach. Fields, every rookie, they need stability. You have to have some type of stability to even get to improve and learn and really groom a rookie that needs some, they all need some time. Look at Josh Allen. I mean, it wasn't like they snapped their fingers. It took him, they developed him. You have to have stability. What they did to Fields last year, Nagy would call the plays one week and, no, you call it this week. I'm giving up the duties. And you couldn't have done it worse to Fields, what they did. So I'm looking for stability from the Bears to see if they have that for him at least and give him some direction, because they do have a really good running back. I mean, I think he's one of the best. I love that guy. That was a great pick by Ryan Pace. I've been critical of some of their stuff, but they nailed that pick. I think he's a good player.
Yeah. He's a legit old school 90s workhorse. David Montgomery. Just reminds you of just kind of a not Emmett Smith, but that kind of just gritty, give him 20, 25 carries, and he's not going to wear down. He'll wear you down. And I wasn't that far off, exaggerated on, I believe it's Bayless Jones is the receiver they eventually got around to drafting. He's 25. He just turned 25. So I was like joking, 27. I was only 2 years off.
You're pretty good on that.
Man, all the receivers, watch, he'll be a stud, and I don't know anything about him, but
it's too hard to even make those. I know it's not even worth predicting that stuff right now. We got to see some things, but Peterson with Trevor Lawrence, Fields has a new quarterback, Lawrence has a new coach. Fields has a new coach. The Jets, that was not easy what they went through before last season. When the offensive coordinator passed away, I can't believe I'm drawing a blank, but it's horrible. I feel bad. I'm drawing a blank on that. But think about that. I mean, that was a guy
Greg Knapp. That's right.
Coach Knapp. To think, I mean, that's hard. They'd already established a little bit of a relationship, and that's hard for a rookie to like. So there were some tough things that all those rookies really had to face, stability wise.
Here's the stat I was trying to think of with teams that get to the Super Bowl and lose it. Peter King had it in his Football Morning in America column. It's always, required reading, obviously, but he had Cincinnati 7th on his power rankings, and he started with this little nugget. He said, let's start with the bad. In the last 27 years, only one Super Bowl loser has won the conference championship the following season.
Wow.
The Patriots 4 years ago. Man, excepting that Patriots team, the last 6 Super Bowl losers have won an average of 8.8 games the next year. That's pretty crazy. I mean, if you get to the Super Bowl, you're obviously doing something right. And then to backtrack immediately to 500 consistently, that's like psychological. There's got to be a psychological component to that.
So off that, since you're taking them to go to the Super Bowl, I'm going to find their odds to not make the playoffs.
Ooh.
Because those might be pretty good. And based on percentages,
I don't know. I think Joe Burrow is going to smash some history. Love Burrow.
It's hard not to love Joe Burrow. So where are you at with the Chargers? Where are you at with Herbert?
The Chargers are definitely an entertaining.
I thought they made some I like they got Mac.
Khalil Mack, J.C. Jackson. I mean, there's a lot to like with what they did. Man, and Peter King had them second behind Buffalo. I don't know. I love Herbert, but their coaching style to go for it is great and fun, and how more coaches should operate games. I don't know really what it is. Something's holding me back with maybe it's the division, because I'm so high on Russell Wilson. I think Derek Carr, Devontae Adams could be scary. It would not shock me if they just won the division. With Josh McDaniels calling plays too.
We just keep talking about AFC teams, by the way.
We do. I mean, and then obviously Mahomes is Mahomes, and as good as Tyreek Hill is to get Marquez Valdes-Scantling, Juju Smith-Schuster, McCole Hardman, and tip my tongue, they drafted one as well. All for what, 11 mil? It's like nothing. Like financially, they're just so smart with what they're doing at wide receiver right now.
And then if you like Denver because of Russell, and if you think they can make a legit run, another good bet is then for Hackett to be coach of the year. Like, you'll get good value on that too. So that's how you have to think. Like, if you think you like Broncos to make a run, you should throw some money on Hackett to win coach of the year, because it all go together.
The apps are deleted from my phone, Jim, a long time ago. They're long gone.
I feel like but I don't feel like you had a bad experience. Did something
No, I didn't. I just don't want to go down that road. It's a scary road. It's a
It's
scary
almost
one.
like if you're an alcoholic and you just don't keep it in the house.
Pretty much. Side note, like there's probably people out there who've read it. I'm kind of a late bloomer to this book, but Atomic Habits, Jim,
Don't know it.
absolute must read. James Clear, I believe, is the author. This book has been used by professional sports teams. It's been out for a couple of years now. It'll just change your life on how you operate day to day. But the one recent chapter toward the end of the book, he talks about just, with bad habits, if you can just like eliminate what gets you into that bad habit, it sounds so simple, then you just won't do it.
Oh, that's why I was laughing.
Right. I know it's like, yeah. Right. It's so elementary, really, but it's so smart. Like, just delete your social media apps from your phone. Just get rid of them. I'm doing that right now. They're gone. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, see ya. And you can increase your productivity, something like 600 hours per year that you'll have freed up instead of just mindlessly scrolling through bullshit. So yeah, you just got to cut the head off the snake and the body will die, as a great coach once told us.
A great coach.
We got to get him on the podcast. Greg Williams. We're getting him on for sure.
I'm pretty sure that won't be hard. He will. I think just from my time with him, and I would love to. It'd be fun to catch up with him. He's not afraid to talk.
A little book preview, right? We got to seamlessly fit those into podcasts. He was interviewed for Blood and Guts, and it was a lot of fun. He defended some of these tight ends, and we just started talking about the way football should be played, Jim, and he was great. He got into the presentation that he gives players for every single team, every single year, on like how you just take another man's will away from him. You got to look another grown man in the eyes and basically tell him, I'm going to kick your ass. It's great. I love it. We should have him on and like maybe he could give us the speech. Let's bring on some XFL players or prospective XFL players, and Greg Williams just gives them that speech on the podcast.
I would like to hear what he said. He probably can't talk about it, to be honest. He probably can't really bring that. But I don't know. He can't be the only coach that's ever said that.
Well, I remember when the Bounty Gate stuff blew up, and I was at the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel, like everybody, I was doing stories on it, catching up with not even old timer, like Packer players from the 90s. And I mean, they're like, yeah, we all kind of did the same thing. I mean, it sounded bad, taken out of context.
Maybe audio, not. Yeah. It is. When you hear it, it seems.
When you hear it, in a cubicle or in your living room with a 2.5-year-old and a 10-month-old watching Bluey, it might sound a little abrasive to talk about targeting another man's knee. I get it. But if like a football locker room is just it's a different place. It's a different world. I'm not trying to like absolve what he did by any means, but context is a little important, I think.
Well, that's, I just felt like our team was played fast and physical. That Saint team. We've had Roman Harper on before. He was part of that defense. Well, did Kurt Warner ever talk about that game much?
You know what? I've talked to him several times, and I didn't ever bring it up. I should have.
No, I'm just curious to see, because I still don't think between that game and Favre, and I still didn't think there was any. I just thought we were physical.
It was just kind of like an old school early 90s football game to me,
I didn't see cheap shots, and I didn't see it like that. I didn't think, but I'm also, it's hard for me. I shouldn't even say it because I like those guys. I scouted them.
I mean, to me, for Brett Favre, that was one of his most impressive performances ever. I mean, that NFC Championship game.
They should have won that game.
I mean, you guys just beat the ever-living hell out of Brett Favre.
And they should have won the game.
He kept getting up. It was unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
One mistake.
Childress screwed that time up.
He did.
Yeah. That was major. but that was their game to win.
All right, should we get to some of these questions that we got?
Yeah, I'd like to hear some.
All right, so if folks didn't see it, we just threw out there on Twitter right before hitting record to hit us with your most ridiculous questions.
Nonsense.
And we asked for utter nonsense. So we got some nonsense here. All right, let's go to Jason Brown, loyal reader, loyal listener. We love Jason. He asks, what is today's NBA missing? Defense, mid-range jumpers, the Supersonics. He grew up in Seattle. I love that one. Detlef Schrempf, baby. Hershey Hawkins. Or rivalries. And then a bonus, best and worst kids TV show. Oh man, I love this one, Jason. All right, let's start with the NBA. We were BSing about the NBA before we started too.
This is good. Perfect. This is good. What were he said, what was it? Defense. It's not the defense. That's not the issue. What else?
He had, and obviously throw in something else too if you want, but he posited defense, mid-range jumpers,
that doesn't
the Supersonics or rivalries.
The last two I like. I would like to see Sean Kemp and the boys come back. And then you know what's funny? How crazy, how long Kevin Durant played for them. In fact, when I was working for the Saints in New Orleans, they played, we went and saw him play.
Yeah.
When we were there for meetings. And it was like, I think about that so much. How
it's crazy what could have been for that team. I mean, you had 3 Hall of Famers.
You had Kevin Durant. I mean,
Russell Westbrook, James Harden.
So I go Seattle, and rivalries. There really aren't rivalries anymore. I would agree with that.
Yeah, I wonder if that has to do with just. I mean, these guys have been playing together since middle school, and they're friends.
Yeah.
And social media, and they're all mercenaries, right? I mean, there really isn't. No. Star players don't stay with teams, so you're not building up what you saw in the '80s with the Celtics and the Lakers just loathing each other. You know, it's just guys are moving. I mean, year to year, you don't know who's going to play for who, so there's not really.
It's hard to get.
It might be rivalries. I mean, I think that's it. I was going to say mid-range jumpers.
I go with that because the skill level is better than it's ever been.
The barrage of threes is annoying, though, Jim. I mean,
okay, that's fair enough. I'm not talking about just launching threes. I'm talking about the ball handling, the athleticism, the ability to consistently make threes, beyond threes, off the dribble, like not just set shots. These guys are making shots off the dribble, like step backs. That's a hard skill. I'm not just talking about running down and shooting a wide open three. I agree with you. That's not skill. But these step backs off the dribble, that's a skill. That's not easy.
I agreed. It's just a weird aesthetically, though, to watch it.
No, the games aren't.
The
games aren't.
There's so many picks being set around the perimeter. There's just no action inside the 3-point line. It's weird to watch a basketball game. So I don't like.
I appreciate the skill. I appreciate the skill level, but the games aren't that fun to watch.
Yeah, I think the fact that if you're a fan of any team, you're just constantly living in anxiety. All right, we have this really good player, but is he going to leave us? When is he going to leave us? It's kind of a strange. I'm not even a hardcore fan of any team. Used to be the Charlotte Hornets, but what can you do?
I was going to say, I thought for sure you were going to say the Hornets.
Yeah, it's kind of more ironically.
I know that one I've still never understood. I mean, I love it. I love that you love them for some reason, growing up here.
Ronald James, another OG subscriber. Ronnie, good to see you, my man. He asks, if you take a lasagna and put it on top of another lasagna, do you have 2 lasagna or 1 really big lasagna? Ooh, that's a great question. I'm going to say 1 massive lasagna.
That's
my grandmother was as Italian as it gets, and she was, oh my God, she passed when I was in high school, so we haven't had her in a long time, and I can still taste her food. I mean, I can picture it, I can taste it, I can smell it. And her lasagna, it was just layer on layer. So yeah, it's just one.
So I'm half Greek, and my yaya makes a spanakopita that it ruins it for everywhere else I've ever had it. Like I can go anywhere else. That's good. That is good. That is good. It's never as good as yaya's. Like that's a quality. They just have that quality, like to make that dish that is not, you can't get anywhere else. But best. Wait, so we'll agree. One big lasagna.
One big lasagna. Jason Jordan, Lone Star. My old college pal at Syracuse University. Living on Mount Olympus, sophomore year. Jason asks, Jesus, Superman, Batman, who are you building a franchise around? I'm going Christ myself. Can do a lot of pretty amazing things.
Superman or Batman? Yeah.
Hard to go against Jesus Christ. That's tough. That's a tough out for Superman and Batman.
That's a hard one for me to answer. I'll just leave it at this. To me, it's hard for me to answer because we're talking about three made up characters. So I can't.
Whoa. Jim's getting deep. Okay.
That's what I'm trying to say. I can't answer that.
Oh man, we might have
to. But if I had to, based on what we're going off of, I would have to go with Jesus. If all their superpowers are what they are, yeah, I'm going Jesus.
Jim, I think you just might have swatted the hornet's nest. We're gonna get some replies on that one.
I didn't say anything bad. I didn't say anything.
Well, we'll just leave it to the listeners. Kyle Trimble, another close friend of the program, who also was a frequent Isaiah McKenzie show in-person attendant. Kyle, we love you, man. Thanks for listening. This is probably the best one we got, Jim. We're really going to have to think about this one. All right. There's 4 people that he bullet points here. 4 horrible people. We have to rank them. I think, 1 being the worst, right? So 1's the worst. Here are the nominees. The person who does not return their shopping cart. The person who gets up immediately after the plane lands. Ooh. Oh.
That one for you right now has like.
Oh man, this is the same breed of asshole, and I haven't really thought about it, but this is right there. The person who pulls up to the pump at a busy gas station and goes inside first. That's a selfish person. That's a bad person.
Bad.
Oh man, and then this is an oldie but a goodie, or would it be an oldie but a horribly? The person who drives in the left-hand lane under the speed limit.
Under the speed limit.
It's hard. Boy, this is tough. Kyle, man, what a good
question. Okay, go ahead. I'll just go with your work. Are you going to start with number 1 being the worst?
All right, I'll give you my 4 right now.
Yeah.
So even though I've kind of made hay with the whole shopping cart, I think we've reached a point of mass awareness. I think that the movement has grown. It's been very grassroots. It has spread like a good political campaign to the rest of the country. And I think by now, by and large, people know you are a horrible person who deserves to die a fiery death if you don't return your shopping cart. So that being said, number 1 is the person who gets up immediately after the plane lands, because I'm going to broaden that to, that is the same person who is budging and not abiding by row-to-row deplaning discipline to get off. That this is the person who, I mean, the plane lands on time, right? It's not even like there was a delay, but they're so self-absorbed, so oblivious to a civil society and basic human decency that they need to nudge and budge and push and poke and elbow and prod and work their way up. So it's been said on this podcast many times, but it bears repeating, Jim. If anybody out there is in this position, here's what you must do to save our species. You simply, I don't know if anybody's watching, you just if you get the aisle seat, number one, you want that aisle seat, and then you see it in your peripheral vision, right? Like the corner of your eye, you can sense this like it's an anxiety. They just got to get off the plane, and they're worried. They nothing else matters. You sense that person. It's an energy. You feel it, and you stick that elbow out. Like just like you're kind of hanging out. Like that's just naturally how your elbow is. And then you time it. So right when they're ready to budge, you just turn and stick it in their sternum. Just a little nudge. And hey, if they say something, if they do something, you just say, hey, I'm sorry. I thought this was one of those planes that deplaned by the row. I didn't know that this was a plane that didn't follow basic human decency. I had it out with a guy. I said it to a hipster kid. He had his headphones in, wasn't paying attention, just throwing his luggage all over the place, budged ahead, gave him a quick elbow to the sternum. One elbow at a time, we can change the world. So that's number one. Number two, shopping cart. Number three, I got to go left-hand lane. Number four, a solid number four is the gas station. But there's really no wrong answers here, Jim.
No, I would go with your list too. I could flip 1 and 2, but I like that list. I mean, that's strong. I still think the elevator thing for me, it just was so, for Pete Carroll doing that you can't get off before people. I mean, that's just, you can't not let people off. That's just, but I'm saying I like that list. Those are all annoying.
Speaking of elevators and football coaches, I'm looking him up. I think he just passed away. Jim Hannafin. Yeah, he passed away in 2020, November 2020. He's a longtime legendary offensive line coach.
I do remember the name, but why did elevators make you think of that?
So he was with Don Coryell, with the Chargers for a hot minute. He was head coach of the St. Louis Cardinals in the 80s. And then he was with the Falcons, the Redskins, and then the St. Louis Rams. We were in an elevator once. I don't know where it was. God, maybe it was a St. Louis game or the combine or senior. But we had we talked about football. We talked about life. It was a lot jam-packed into 2.5 minutes, whatever it was. But great conversation with Jim Hannafin. So you can have a good experience with an NFL coach on an elevator.
Yeah, together.
Rest in peace. Yeah.
Together.
All right. How about one more? This is good. Joe Gonzi, another early go long subscriber. Joe, the pride of Casey's Black Rock, right near the Buff State campus. My buddy Vinny Garfalo owns the place.
Yeah.
You got to go up there, get some beer, get some food. Great spot. Vinny does an excellent job. So, and you might see our pal Joe there too. He asks, would you rather run from a bear or swim from a school of sharks? I think you got to go run from a bear, right?
I'm running bear.
Yeah. I mean, swimming from a school of sharks, I think that you got about a 0.0000001% chance of surviving that.
Yeah, it's not even. That's a good one though.
But you know what? This could be Joe's point. If you're looking at it as a lose-lose situation and you're doomed either way, the school of sharks, you'd die, a less painful death probably, right?
Yeah, I'm good with. Oh, he's saying so you would pick the sharks because it'd be go fast.
Maybe. A bear, he might toy with you for, take you off one limb at a time.
True.
The sharks are just going to go to town.
Yeah. I'm still, yeah. You can see both sides. I'm terrified of sharks.
Really? You don't think they're cute and cuddly? You're not like those people?
Like bears look cute. Like bears are, I mean, obviously, but man, sharks, it's like,
yeah.
It just seems so unfair that you could be completely relaxed in the ocean and you're not going to hear it. You're not going to see it, but you're going to feel it. You know what I mean? Like they're too sneaky and fast and everything.
Yeah.
Like I respect sharks. I respect them, fear them.
I'll never forget going snorkeling on a family vacation in like middle school in the Bahamas. And there were these idiots, a whole family of idiots, parents with their kids. and there was a shark, and they're like shaking its tail in the water. I mean, a decent sized shark. I mean, maybe they knew the breed and it wasn't going to bite them, but like, what are you doing?
Why?
I mean, if you're a dad showing your kid that, I mean, kind of hope the shark just retaliates at that point, right? It's probably going to be somebody who grows up and doesn't return their shopping cart and budges on airplane. Like, let's just get rid of this person, get them out.
So that could be. So if we're scouting, that's the sign of we need to find out if they ever mess with the shark.
Exactly. Well, really, if you're a scout, I mean, I think that Kyle's list of 4 things, you could throw the elevator in there too. I mean, you have to ask.
It sounds like these are like combine questions.
Yes. God. All right. We got to make notes of this, Jim. Next time we get a player on here, we're rapid firing Kyle's 4 and seeing what, if he bites on any of those.
I think it's fun.
Yeah. Red Flag City.
It's good.
Great podcast. Thanks for doing it, Jim. Thanks everybody for listening. We got a fun week. Got some good stories coming. Took a little trip to Pittsburgh. Hung out with a player of interest that was very interesting. So I think folks will enjoy. We'll have the details shortly. But thanks everyone.